Yesterday we completed the pastime of Putana killed, and then we heard the pastime from Chaitanya Leela about Pundarik Vidyanidhi when he heard about the mercifulness of Sri Krishna to both the demons and the devotees. But one frame I forgot to show. So we'll show that one first, and then we'll go on to chapter 7.
Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. In this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as Mahavadanya, the most munificent of charitable persons, because he gives Krishna so easily that one can attain Krishna simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We should therefore take advantage of the benediction given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra we are cleansed of all dirty things, we shall be able to understand very easily that Krishna is the only object of love.
So Krishna displays his beautiful childhood pastimes to attract us to him. And the purpose of our life is to develop pure love for Krishna. And by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're able to hear these pastimes, and coming in the Parampara disciplic succession, Srila Prabhupada has given these now to us in English, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Krishna book. So we've completed now 6 chapters of Krishna book, and we'll proceed now to the 7th, which is the liberation of Trinavarta.
Salvation of Trunavarta, the killing of the demon Trunavarta. Chapter summary. In this chapter, Sri Krishna's pastimes of breaking the cart, Shakata Bhanjana, killing the asura known as Trunavarta, and demonstrating the entire universe within his mouth are especially described. When Shukadev Goswami saw that Maharaj Parikshit was eagerly waiting to hear about Lord Krishna's pastimes as a child, he was very much pleased, and he continued to speak. When Shri Krishna was only 3 months old and was just trying to turn backside up, before he even attempted to crawl, Mother Yashoda wanted to observe a ritualistic ceremony with her friends for the good fortune of the child. Such a ritualistic ceremony is generally performed with ladies who also have small children. When Mother Yashoda saw that Krishna was falling asleep, because of other engagements, she put the child underneath a household cart called Shakata, and while the child was sleeping, she engaged herself in other business pertaining to the auspicious ritualistic ceremony. Underneath the cart was a cradle, and Mother Yashoda placed the child in that cradle. The child was sleeping, but suddenly he awakened, and as usual for a child, began to kick his small legs. This kicking shook the cart, which collapsed with a great sound, breaking completely and spilling all its contents.
Now when Krishna was very, very young, he killed Putana. Now he's come to the age of development where instead of just lying on his back all the time, he's trying to turn over by himself. So this is a special function in a child's development, and there's a corresponding sanskar or yagya that's performed for to seek the blessings of the child as he develops. Now, here it said 3 months, and also at this time was the auspicious conjunction of the constellation Rohini with the moon. And we can remember that that was also the time when Krishna took his birth, this Rohini with the moon, the constellation. So, another reason for having a yagya or an abhishek, it's considered like the first birthday because the constellations are the same. And then in other shastras it says that Krishna was only 27 days old at this time. So there are three different things being said, and we'll see here in both in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Krishna book, two different explanations are given. But the point is that this was a very important point of development time for baby Krishna, and Mother Yasoda, of course, used that as an excuse, as a reason for her to have a nice yagya, invite the Brahmins, give charity. And while she was sitting with her little baby, he became tired, and she put him in the bed underneath the cart.
Children who were playing nearby immediately informed Mother Yashoda that the cart had broken, and therefore she hastily arrived there in great anxiety with the other gopis. Mother Yashoda immediately took the child on her lap and allowed him to suck her breast. When various types of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies were performed with the help of the Brahmanas, not knowing the real identity of the child, the Brahmanas showered the child with blessings.
So we'll find later in this presentation that Krishna wanted to kill this demon Shakatasura, who had come here. His body was made of air, because in his previous life he was the son of Hiranyaksha named Utkacha, and he had a giant body, like a giant, huge body. And one time he went to the ashram of Lomasa Rishi, and there he was doing mischief. He was breaking down trees. So Lomasa Rishi, he cursed him that now with this huge body you're breaking the trees of our ashram, so now I curse you, your body will just be made of air. So in this, when he heard this curse, he fell at the feet of Lomasa Rishi and begged for his mercy. So being a devotee, Lomasa Rishi took pity on him and said, now is Chakshusha Manvantar. In the forthcoming Manvantar of Vaivasvata Manu, Lord Krishna will appear, and at that time he'll touch you with his foot and you'll be liberated. So now he has become an associate of Kamsa, being by nature demoniac, and he came specifically to kill Krishna. He was hiding in the cart, and when Mother Yasoda put the baby under the cart, his intention was to drag the cart so that all of the things would fall on Krishna and crush Krishna. But instead, Krishna had his own plan, because first of all he wanted to fulfill the benediction given by Lomasa Rishi. Second of all, he was a demon, so he needed to be killed.
Another day, when Mother Yashoda was sitting with her child on her lap, suddenly observed that he had assumed the weight of the entire universe. She was so astonished that she had to put the child down, and in the meantime Trinavarta, one of the servants of Kamsa, appeared there as a whirlwind and took the child away. The whole tract of land known as Gokula became surcharged with dust. No one could see where the child had been taken, and all the gopis were overwhelmed because he had been taken away in the dust storm.
So of course we'll hear the details of this later in Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna book. But we know here in Vrindavan, when a big Andi comes, Andi, that's what they call the dust storms here, and Andi is because you become blind from the dust, you can't see anything, and it becomes so dark sometimes you can't even see yourself. So this Trinavarta, though he was a demon with the human form, like most Rakshasas, he knew how to change his form, and he appeared there in Gokul, in the form of an andi or a big whirlwind to take Krishna away.
Have you experienced this kind of andhi here? Like everything blinding?
Yes.
Okay.
And hail and everything.
Oh.
Yeah? Hail this big.
Oh. But up in the sky, the Asura, being overburdened by the child, could not carry the child far away. Although he also could not drop the child, because the child had caught him so tightly that it was difficult for him to separate the child from his body. Thus Drunavarta himself fell down from a very great height, the child grasping him tightly by the shoulder, and immediately died. The demon having fallen, the gopis picked the child up and delivered him to the lap of Mother Yashoda. Thus Mother Yashoda was struck with wonder, but because of Yogamaya's influence, no one could understand who Krishna was and what had actually happened.
So today we'll only get as far as the Shakatasura Bhanjan Leela, when Krishna kills Shakatasura. But there are many, many very interesting details in the Trinavarta Leela. Krishna was enjoying himself flying there in the sky. And also we'll find out who Trinavarta was and what he represents.
Rather, everyone began to praise fortune for the child's having been saved from such a calamity. Nanda Maharaj, of course, was thinking of the wonderful foretelling of Vasudeva and began to praise him as a great yogi. Later, when the child was on the lap of Mother Yashoda, the child yawned, and Mother Yashoda could see within his mouth the entire universal manifestation. End of the chapter summary, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always full of 6 opulences, namely complete wealth, complete strength, complete fame, complete knowledge, complete beauty, and complete renunciation. The Lord appears in different complete eternal forms of incarnation. The conditioned soul has immense opportunity to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord in these different incarnations. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Janma karma cha me divyam. The pastimes and activities of the Lord are not material. They are beyond the material conception. But the conditioned soul can benefit by hearing such uncommon activities. Hearing is an opportunity to associate with the Lord. To hear His activities is to evolve to the transcendental nature simply by hearing. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
So this is the process for evolving or progressing on the spiritual path back to Krishna, simply by hearing. Now here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam is a series of questions and answers. And Parikshit Maharaj, after the 9th canto, he was very eager to hear the pastimes of Sri Krishna now that he was appearing. So one after another, he's encouraging Sukadeva Goswami. He's pleading and begging from Sukadeva Goswami, please tell me more. So Sukadeva Goswami, seeing the enthusiasm of Parikshit Maharaj, was inspired to speak, and therefore he began telling more of these childhood pastimes, which are the most attractive of all of the Supreme Lord's activities. The other incarnations, they have the partial influence, just like a light bulb. It's also connected to the powerhouse, but just according to the need and the capacity of the light bulb, that's how much power is exhibited. So each of the incarnations, they partially exhibit the 6 opulences of the Lord. It's only Sri Krishna himself who exhibits all of the 6 opulences in full, and especially the childhood pastimes are the most attractive of all of his pastimes.
The conditioned soul has a natural aptitude to hear something about other conditioned souls in the form of fiction drama, and novel. That inclination to hear something about the others may be utilized in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Then one can immediately evolve to this transcendental nature. Krishna's pastimes are not only beautiful, they are also very pleasing to the mind. If someone takes advantage of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the material contamination of dust accumulated in the heart due to long association with material nature can be immediately cleansed. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
So in Gokul, the cynosure, or the center of everybody's attention, was Sri Krishna. From the time he was born, so many beautiful activities were displayed by him. And whatever the rasa was of each of the personalities, they talked about Krishna, they thought about Krishna, they meditated on Krishna, they remembered the wonderful activities that he performed. So although Krishna was engaging in his daily pastimes, all of the inhabitants of Gokul were simply absorbed in remembering him and meditating upon him. So this is the perfection of life. Each person, each Brijbasi in Gokul was fully in love with Krishna according to their different rasa and meditated on him and did everything for his pleasure.
Chaitanya also instructed that simply by hearing the transcendental name of Lord Krishna, one can cleanse the heart of all material contamination. There are different processes for self-realization, but this process of devotional service, of which hearing is the most important function, when adopted by any conditioned soul, will automatically cleanse him of the material contamination and enable him to realize his real constitutional position. Conditional life is due to this contamination only, and as soon as it is cleared off, the naturally dormant function of the living entity rendering service to the Lord awakens. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
So this is how we make advancement in Krishna consciousness, by hearing. Just as all of these pastimes now, specifically they're based on the Vatsalya rasa. And those who are in that rasa, they take so much pleasure in hearing these childhood pastimes of Krishna. Now we have to remember always that Krishna, he's not limited to just one form. He can expand himself to reciprocate our loving exchange with him unlimitedly. That means for every living entity, Krishna expands himself. We already understand that he's in our heart as Paramatma. But when we reach this platform of love in the mood of the Brijbasis and enter the spiritual world, Krishna comes out of our heart and reciprocates our love with him. So all of these Brijbasis and all of the pure devotees, they're constantly engaged in hearing about the pastimes of the Lord and taking pleasure in remembering his pastimes and engaging in devotional service for his pleasure.
By developing his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, one becomes eligible to create friendship with the devotees. Maharaj Parikshit recommended from practical experience that everyone try to hear about transcendental pastimes of the Lord. This Krishna treatise is meant for that purpose, and the reader may take advantage in order to attain the ultimate goal of life.
I don't know what happened, but two of these don't have pictures, excuse me. Yes, so that is the reason why Srila Prabhupada compiled the Krishna book, so that we can simply take pleasure hearing about the pastimes of the Lord. It's so easy to just absorb ourselves in these beautiful pastimes and remember Krishna, remember all of his sweet exchanges with the devotees as a little child. And simply by reading these stories, we become purified.
King Parikshit said, "My Lord, Shukadeva Goswami, all the various activities exhibited by the incarnations of Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly pleasing to the ear and to the mind. Simply by one's hearing of these activities, the dirty things in one's mind immediately vanish. Generally, we are reluctant to hear about the activities of the Lord, but Krishna's childhood activities are so attractive that they are automatically pleasing to the mind and ear. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.1 and 2.
So what is this dirt that we want to remove from our mind? The dirty things in one's mind are our attachments to anything other than Krishna and devotional service. So by hearing these beautiful childhood pastimes, we become attracted to Krishna and we want to enter into those pastimes. And easily then we can wash away the dirt of other attachments simply by remembering these childhood pastimes.
Thus one's attachment for hearing about material things, which is the root cause of material existence, vanishes, and one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Lord, attachment for Him, and friendship with devotees who give us the contribution of Krishna consciousness. If you think it fitting, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.1 and 2.
So after Parikshit Maharaj, in the very beginning of 10th canto, asked to hear about the appearance of the Lord, then Sukadeva Goswami, being enthused by the hearer, he spoke more and more. So now after Putana's demise, Parikshit Maharaj, it's like drinking nectar. You just want more and more. So he's imploring Sukadeva Goswami that if you think it fitting, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord. So Parikshit Maharaj, like for instance today, we're observing Nirjala Ekadasi. So one day out of the year, for most devotees, they observe this Nirjala Ekadasi. And when we reduce our eating and our other physical requirements, we have extra time. So that extra time we should use for hearing about Krishna and talking about Krishna. So we can just imagine Parikshit Maharaj, he had 7 days to prepare for death. And in those 7 days, he stopped all eating and all drinking. But what was he doing? He was drinking the nectar of Krishna's pastimes. And now finally, it's about the 6th day, he's hearing about these sweet pastimes of Krishna. And this has increased his thirst to hear more and more. So he's drinking this ambrosia of Krishna's pastimes through his ears now.
As stated in the Prema Vivarta, Krishna Bahirmukha Hayya Bhogavancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Tare Japatiya Dhare. Our material existence is Maya, or illusion, in which we desire different varieties of material enjoyment and therefore change to different varieties of bodies. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. Bhagavad Gita 18.61. Asannapi Kleshada Asadeha. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4. As long as we have these temporary bodies, they give us many varieties of tribulation, Adhyatmik, Bhautika and Adhidaivika. This is the root cause of all suffering. But this root cause of suffering can be removed by a revival of our Krishna consciousness. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7, 1 and 2 purport.
So this sloka by Jagadananda Pandit, we'll hear the translation and the word for word next. But this Krishna Bahir Mukha, it's when we turn our face away from Krishna because we have a desire to enjoy separate from Him. Then Nikatsta, Nikat we know even in Hindi it means right nearby. So who's right nearby? Maya. She's just waiting. And as soon as we turn away from Krishna, what does she do? Japatiyadari, she gives us a smack. She strikes us. And what does she strike us with? She's got that trident in her hand, the Trishul. And that trident has 3 prongs. And those 3 prongs are Adhyatmic, Adhibautic, and Adhidaivik. And she pierces us with those three klesh. So as soon as we turn away from Krishna, Maya is waiting there to pierce us with that trishul of hers. And that's why we suffer. This is the root cause of all suffering. But this root cause of suffering can be removed as soon as we remember Krishna again and turn towards him.
Krishna bahirmukh hayya bhogavancha kare, nikatastha maya tare japatiya dhare. Synonyms. Krishna bahirmukh means inimical to Krishna. Hayya means becoming. Bhoga, sense gratification. Vancha kare, desires. Nikatastha, standing nearby. Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. Tare, him. Japatiya dhare, slaps down. Translation. As soon as one becomes inimical to Krishna and desires sense gratification, he is immediately struck down by the illusory energy of the Lord. This is from Prema Vivarta Jagadananda Pandit. All the Vedic literatures presented by Vyasadeva and other great sages are therefore intended to revive our Krishna consciousness, which begins to revive with Shravanam Kirtanam. Shrunvatam Swakata Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17. Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures exist simply to give us a chance to hear about Krishna. Krishna has different avatars or incarnations, all of which are wonderful and which arouse one's inquisitiveness. But generally, such avatars as Matsya, Kurma and Varaha are not as attractive as Krishna. First of all, however, we have no attraction for hearing about Krishna, and this is the root cause of our suffering. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7, 1 and 2 purport.
Now, the reason we don't have attraction for hearing about Krishna is because since time immemorial means we can't remember when we came here, because every time we change our body, we forget about our previous birth. And with this desire, this Krishna Bahir Mukha, when we become inimical to Krishna, we turn away from him and try to enjoy sense gratification, then at that time, in unlimited different types of bodies, we try to enjoy. And we try to experience these loving relationships separate from Krishna, which are always impermanent. So, because we're trying to enjoy separate from Krishna, we want to forget Krishna, therefore we don't have a taste for hearing about Krishna. But by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, by reading Krishna book, our taste for hearing about Krishna increases, because his pastimes are so sweet. And not only are they attractive to hear, but we develop a desire to want to enter into those pastimes. So that is the great benefit of regularly hearing Krishna's pastimes.
But Parikshit Maharaj specifically mentions that the wonderful activities of baby Krishna, which amazed Mother Yashoda and the other inhabitants of Vraja, are especially attractive. From the very beginning of his childhood, Krishna killed Putana, Trinavarta and Shakatasura and showed the entire universe within his mouth. Thus the pastimes of Krishna, one after another, kept Mother Yashoda and all the inhabitants of Vraja in great astonishment. The process to revive one's Krishna consciousness is Adav Shraddha Tatah Sadhu Sangha. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.15. The pastimes of Krishna can be properly received from devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7, 1 and 2 purport.
So this Ado Shraddha, that means the beginning of our spiritual life is that we have a little faith. And that faith is that Krishna exists and I'm Krishna's eternal servant. Then, when we develop that faith, Tata Sadhu Sangha, then we seek the association of devotees, because by the mercy of the devotees, we can hear about Krishna and develop our desire to meet Krishna, to serve Krishna, and to learn more about Krishna. So this Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, the beginning of our spiritual life is Ado Guru Vashraya. The first step in spiritual life is to take shelter of a spiritual master and inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. So if we want to advance in the process of being happy in life and developing pure love for Krishna, then we have to hear from the right source, and that right source is the Guru and the sadhus. So Krishna book is the best way to hear about Krishna.
If one has developed a little bit of Krishna consciousness by hearing from Vaishnavas about the activities of Krishna, one becomes attached to Vaishnavas who are interested only in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj recommends that one hear about Krishna's childhood activities, which are more attractive than the activities of other incarnations, such as Matsya, Kuruma and Varaha. Wanting to hear more and more from Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit requested him to continue describing Krishna's childhood activities, which are especially easy to hear and which create more and more inquisitiveness. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7, 1 and 2 purport.
And as Krishna grows, his pastimes become sweeter and sweeter. Now he's too small to do any go seva, but the cowherd men and the cowherd women, they're fully absorbed in little baby Krishna's activities. First of all, he's the prince of Braj. He's going to be their king, they all believe. So all of the citizens, they take shelter of him, just like they've taken shelter of Nanda Maharaj. And every little thing he does, they're completely absorbed in. And especially when these special pastimes happen, for instance, Putana, Trinavarta, Shakatasura, they don't understand how they've happened, but it's all centered around Krishna. All of these amazing things are happening to this baby Krishna, and they're always concerned about him and always worried about him and always talking to one another about how wonderful he is.
The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends on this material world and displays his activities just like an ordinary man. Unfortunately, the impious entities or the atheistic class of men consider Krishna to be an ordinary man like themselves, and so they deride him. This is condemned in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself when he says, Avajananti mam mudha. The mudhas or the rascals take Krishna to be an ordinary man or a slightly more powerful man out of their great misfortune. They cannot accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes such unfortunate persons misrepresent themselves as incarnation of Krishna without referring to the authorized scriptures. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
These unauthorized incarnations, can they lift Govardhan Hill? Can they do such amazing things at 6 days old, at 27 days old, at 1 year old? No, they can't do anything like that. So, the mudhas, mudha is someone who doesn't accept that Krishna is the Supreme Lord in human form. That avajananti mamhuda manusim tanum ashrita, that I've accepted a human form, manusim tanum, and ashrita, that I've accepted that. So these mudhas, they think that Krishna is an ordinary person. And even these pastimes in Braj are not understood by the residents of Mathura and Dwarka. When Krishna left Mathura and spent his childhood in Braja, the Mathura Vasis, they couldn't see those pastimes. And then when he came to Mathura, they couldn't understand the sweetness of those pastimes. For instance, the mother of Kamsa, her name was Padmavati. She was saying, why would Krishna ever want to return to Braja? They were so cruel to him. They never fed him properly. He was always hungry, so he would sneak into other people's houses to steal food. They wouldn't give him shoes to wear, and they would make him go out and herd the cows all day. So they couldn't understand the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes. And therefore, when Krishna and Balaram and Rohini came to Mathura, none of the Mathuravasis could understand why they wanted to return to Braj, because they couldn't see those beautiful pastimes. So we're so fortunate. We have this transparent via media of the Srimad Bhagavatam to enter into these Braj Leela through hearing. And by hearing, just like these pictures, they're windows to the spiritual world. So the more we hear, the more we can relish these beautiful pastimes of Krishna in Braj.
This is from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, right? Padmavati speaking.
Yes.
Brihad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Please describe other pastimes of Krishna, the Supreme Personality, who appeared on this planet Earth, imitating a human child and performing wonderful activities like killing Putana. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.3. Maharaj Parikshit requested Shukadeva Goswami to narrate other childhood pastimes exhibited by Krishna while playing as a human child. The Supreme Personality of Godhead incarnates at different times in different planets and universes, and according to the nature of those places, he exhibits his unlimited potency, is the purport.
So Parikshit Maharaj, he was born as the grandson of Arjun, and Arjun was a very close friend of Krishna, but he was a city friend in Hastinapur and in Dwarka. Arjun also didn't have the opportunity to enter into these childhood pastimes. The first time Arjun and Krishna met was at the Swayamvar of Draupadi. So Parikshit Maharaj, he knew that his grandfather and Krishna were very dear friends. And therefore, when Sukadeva Goswami began speaking about Krishna, Parikshit Maharaj wanted to hear more and more, because there was a relationship. It was a family relationship. Just like a few days ago we were talking about Krishna's family. In our ISKCON, in any spiritual community, it's a family. We have aunts and uncles, we have mothers and fathers, we have nephews and nieces and children. So it's a spiritual family. It has nothing to do with birth. It has to do with spiritual birth. Because according to our Guru, we have relationships with everyone within the community. So Parikshit Maharaj, he was very enthusiastic to hear about his grandfather's dearmost friend Krishna. And the more he heard, the more his desire increased to hear more and more specifically about these beautiful Braj pastimes. Kunti Devi also, though she was the aunt of Krishna, she didn't get to see these pastimes, but she always tried to understand them. And therefore, when she spoke to Krishna, she explained to him that I can't understand these beautiful pastimes of yours as a child, how your mother tied you up with a rope. So these pastimes are really inexplicable to those who live outside of Braj. But by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, such as Sukadeva Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of those Vaishnavas, we can actually enter into those pastimes by hearing.
That a child sitting on the lap of his mother was able to kill the gigantic Putana is extremely wonderful for the inhabitants of this planet. But on other planets, the inhabitants are more advanced, and therefore the pastimes of the Lord performs there are still more wonderful. Krishna's appearance on this planet like a human being makes us more fortunate than the demigods in the higher planets, and therefore Maharaj Parikshit was very much interested in hearing about them. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.3 purport.
Yes, because it's at this place, Brajabhumi, where Krishna manifests some of his aprakat lila that are going on eternally in Goloka Vrindavan. It's beautiful pastimes of taking care of the cows and exchanging loving relationships with everyone within that cowherd community. So on the heavenly planets, they also have Srimad Bhagavatam, but because they live longer, their Srimad Bhagavatam is lakhs and lakhs of slokas. Our Srimad Bhagavatam is 18,000 slokas. And those 18,000 slokas, it takes us a whole human lifetime to appreciate. But the demigods, they have Srimad Bhagavatam that's many, many, many thousands of slokas longer because they can hear, they have more time to hear. And the activities of the Lord are different because the demigods, they have a different attitude towards the Lord. So we're most fortunate because here on the earthly planet, Krishna manifests his most intimate pastimes as are performed in Goloka Vrindavan.
When Krishna grew up a little more, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his back. Krishna Book, Chapter 7. Shukdev Goswami said, when Mother Yashoda's baby was slanting his body to attempt to rise and turn around, this attempt was observed by a Vedic ceremony. In such a ceremony called Utthana, which is performed when a child is due to leave the house for the first time, the child is properly bathed. Just after Krishna turned 3 months old, Mother Yashoda celebrated this ceremony with other women of the neighborhood. On that day, there was a conjunction of the moon with the constellation Rohini. As the Brahmanas joined by chanting Vedic hymns and professional musicians also took part, this great ceremony was observed by Mother Yashoda. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.4.
So it's very auspicious when all the mothers with their children come together for these ceremonies. And it's not just the mothers and children, they call the Brahmins. Nanda Maharaj also took part. And the Brahmins are very happy to chant all the Vedic mantras, and they receive charity from Yashoda and Nanda. So it's a celebration that Krishna is growing now. Now whether it was 3 months, whether it was 27 days, next we'll hear about, because of this conjunction of Rohini and the moon, just like Balaram. On the day that Krishna killed Aghasura, that was also a conjunction, a constellation of the time when Balaram was born. So he was kept back that day, therefore he couldn't join in that pastime of the killing of Aghasura and the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So these different astrological calculations are there, so it's an opportunity for us to perform these Vedic ceremonies for the benefit of the children.
There is no question of overpopulation or of children's being a burden for their parents in a Vedic society. Such a society is so well organized and people are so advanced in spiritual consciousness that childbirth is never regarded as a burden or a botheration. The more a child grows, the more his parents become jubilant, and a child's attempts to turn over are also a source of jubilation. Even before the child is born, when the mother is pregnant, many recommended ritualistic ceremonies are performed. For example, when the child has been within the womb for 3 months and for 7 months, there is a ceremony the mother observes by eating with neighboring children. This ceremony is called Swada Bhakshana. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.4 purport.
So Srila Prabhupada, he gave a lecture once that women, when a woman has a child, she becomes more beautiful. And women should continue to have children for as long as they're able to. And he gave the example of one of his relatives. Up to the age of 55, she was still having children. Because when you're following the Vedic culture, the children they all engage in the activities of taking care of the cows and milking the cows and doing all the services. There's so many services to perform when we don't depend on mechanical things. So a lot of children are needed for helping the parents in all of the household duties. And therefore, they don't see the children as a burden. The children, they help the parents, and they grow up just as the parents are doing, the children also learn to do.
Similarly, before the conception of the child, there is Garbhadhan ceremony. In Vedic civilization, childbirth or pregnancy is never regarded as a burden. Rather, it is a cause of jubilation. In contrast, people in modern civilization do not like pregnancy or childbirth. And when there is a child, they sometimes kill it. We can just consider how human society has fallen since the inauguration of Kali Yuga. Although people still claim to be civilized, at the present moment there is actually no human civilization, but only an assembly of two-legged animals. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.4 purport.
So the whole process for producing Aryan children is in the Vedas, the Griha Samhitas, and the beginning, the first sanskar is Garbhadan sanskara for a child. That's even at the time of conception, so that a child with saintly qualities will be attracted to the womb by performing this sanskara. And then Prabhupada just spoke about two other sanskaras, the Svada Bhakshana, where the mother, because in the Vedic conception, it's understood that the child is already alive within the womb of the mother. And that's why it's important that the mother also hears while the child is in the womb. Just like Sukadeva Goswami, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam while he was in the womb. And when he came out of his mother's womb finally after 14 years, he was already a self-realized soul who had developed affection for Sri Krishna. So it's very important that these samskaras are followed for the benefit of the children, so that the children are not varna sankara. Now we've heard the definition of a rakshasa. Rakshasas, they eat children, they kill children. So what is it that we can call a parent that kills their own child? Nothing but a rakshashi.
Another function was observed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's first birthday. They arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is still observed by all followers of the Vedic principles. Krishna's birthday ceremony is observed in India by all Hindus, irrespective of different sectarian views. All the cowherd men and women were invited to participate, and they arrived in jubilation. A nice band played, and the people assembled enjoyed it. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
So the perverted reflection of Janmashtami is birthday parties, where you invite your friends, and here in the Vedic culture, you give gifts to people. But in the Western culture, when you have a birthday party, you expect gifts from people. So it's all upside down. For the Brajbasis, the most important birthday celebration was Krishna's birth. So now everyone's being invited from all over Braj to come and take part in these celebrations. There's going to be music, and the Brahmins are going to be singing so many hymns, and there'll be a nice sacrifice, and there'll be an Abhishek of Krishna. So this Krishna Janmashtami festival is celebrated even up to today. In all the temples and in people's homes, they remember Krishna's birth. And it's a great celebration, not only for Hindus, but people all over the world celebrate.
All the learned Brahmanas were invited, and they chanted Vedic hymns for the good fortune of Krishna. During the chanting of the Vedic hymns and playing of bands, Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhishek, and even today this is observed in all the temples of Vrindavan as Janmashtami Day or the birthday anniversary of Lord Krishna. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
So this is definitely the most popular of all festivals in Vrindavan. Anyone who's here Janmashtami time, you can see the crowds. And what are the crowds doing? They come from all over the world, and particularly all over Braj, to their favorite temples to have darshan of Krishna at midnight when he appeared. So that midnight time, they have a beautiful offering to Krishna and a full abhishek with as many auspicious articles as possible. And then after that, they have full bhog, and Krishna enjoys, while the devotees, they're observing Brat. Brat means that they're not going to take any grains on that day, and they're going to use the extra time from their fasting for hearing about Krishna, talking about Krishna, singing about Krishna, and it's a huge celebration all over Braj and all over the world, wherever temples are.
On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grains, and first-class cows decorated with golden ornaments were made ready to be given in charity to the learned, respectable Brahmanas. Yashoda took her bath and dressed herself nicely, and taking child Krishna, duly dressed and bathed, on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the Brahmanas. While listening to the chanting of the Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep, and therefore Mother Yashoda very silently laid him down on the bed. Being engaged in receiving all the friends, relatives and residents of Vrindavan, on that holy occasion, she forgot to feed the child milk. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
Generally, a mother will feed the child milk when she wants the baby to go to sleep. But Krishna, from the chanting of the hymns, he was already falling asleep. So she forgot to give him milk, and therefore his sleep didn't last long because he woke up hungry. A little baby, they want to have milk as much as possible. So baby Krishna, he fell asleep for a little while, but then he woke up and he wanted his mother's milk.
After completing the bathing ceremony for the child, Mother Yashoda received the Brahmanas by worshipping them with proper respect and giving them ample food grains and other eatables, clothings, desirable cows and garlands. The Brahmanas properly chanted Vedic hymns to observe the auspicious ceremony, and when they finished, Mother Yashoda saw that the child felt sleepy. She lay down on the bed with the child until he was peacefully asleep. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.5.
So she lay down on the bed with Krishna, and then she very carefully placed him in a little cradle, a little bed, so that she could take care of all the guests and continue distributing charity to everyone.
An affectionate mother takes great care of her child and is always anxious to see that the child is not disturbed even for a moment. As long as the child wants to remain with the mother stays with the child, and the child feels very comfortable. Mother Yashoda saw that her child felt sleepy, and to give him all facilities for sleep, she lay down with the child, and when he was peaceful, she got up to attend to her other household affairs. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.5 purport.
Now Krishna was accustomed to having his mother dote on him like this since his birth. When he was tired, she would lay down with him. Anything to make him comfortable, Mother Yasoda was ready to do. So that's why later, when she was feeding Krishna milk, and suddenly she saw the milk boiling over and she put him down very quickly, he wasn't accustomed to being ignored like that. So he retaliated later when he's a little bit older.
He was crying, being hungry, But Mother Yashoda could not hear him cry because of various noises. The child, however, became angry because he was hungry and his mother was not paying attention to him. So he lifted his legs and began to kick his lotus feet just like an ordinary child. Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand-driven cart, and while he was kicking his legs, he accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. Krishna Book, Chapter 7.
So here we have a composite picture. Mother Yasoda is distributing gifts to the Brahmins and to the guests. And baby Krishna is under the cart, and with one of his feet he kicks the cart. Here it says accidentally, but actually Krishna understood that Shakatasura was in that cart and he wanted to kill him by kicking him with his foot, and then everything would fall on him. Shakatasura came with the intention of killing Krishna, and instead Krishna killed him. And then the little children, they saw what Krishna had done. So when Nanda Maharaj and the other Brijbasis asked the children, what happened? How did this happen? They said, Krishna kicked the cart with his little foot. But none of them believed him. So they quickly picked up Krishna, and naturally Mother Yashoda then gave him her breast milk, and he became peaceful.
The liberal Mother Yashoda, absorbed in celebrating Utthana ceremony, was busy receiving guests, worshipping them with all respect and offering them clothing, cows, garlands and grain. Thus she could not hear the child crying for his mother. At that time, child Krishna, demanding to drink the milk of his mother's breast, angrily threw his legs upwards. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.6.
Even at such a young age, Krishna demanded. Whenever he wanted milk, he expected his mother to give it to him. And when she wasn't there, he got angry and started kicking his feet like little children do. Now, we heard that Shakatasura had the body of air. So he is considered to be like a ghostly form. Of course, the artist made it so we could see him, but actually he couldn't be seen by any of the Brijbasis.
Krishna had been placed underneath a household handcart, but this handcart was actually another form of Shakatasura, a demon who had come there to kill the child. Now, on the plea of demanding to suck his mother's breast, Krishna took this opportunity to kill the demon. Thus he kicked Shakatasura just to expose him. Although Krishna's mother was engaged in receiving guests, Lord Krishna wanted to draw her attention by killing the Shakatasura, and therefore he kicked the cart-shaped demon. Such are the pastimes of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.6 purport.
So here's a little baby. He's just learned how to turn over by himself. He wants his mother's attention. He starts kicking his feet, and he made such a havoc that the whole cart fell to pieces, and all of the utensils, all the pots fell down. It made such a crash, so then Mother Yasoda, he immediately got the attention of his mother that way. At the same time, he succeeded in killing the demon.
Krishna wanted to draw the attention of his mother, but while doing so, he created a great havoc, not understandable by ordinary persons. These narrations are wonderfully enjoyable, and those who are fortunate are struck with wonder upon hearing of these extraordinary activities of the Lord. Although the less intelligent regard them as mythological because a dull brain cannot understand them, they are real facts. These narrations are actually so enjoyable and enlightening that Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami took pleasure in them, and other liberated persons following in their footsteps become fully jubilant by hearing about the wonderful activities of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.6 purport.
So what makes these pastimes so wonderful is the mercy of Krishna. Because this demon, who was the son of Hiranyaksha previously, he's going to get to go back to Godhead now. And now we'll find out how.
Shakatasur, the cart demon, carrying the burden of a cartload of old and new bad habits, lethargy and vanity. This is from Chaitanya Shikshamrita by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The Shakatasur represents these anarthas. Shakata Bhanjana Shakatasura Samhari. O Lord Krishna, when you killed that demon who had assumed the form of a cart, all the people of Vraja were not able to understand what had happened or how. For your protection, the Brahmanas performed a ritualistic ceremony to attain good fortune. Vedic hymns were chanted to purify you, and you were bathed with water. Krishna Leela Stava.
So this is what Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has to say about the representation of Shakatasura. And the reason that he gives these explanations about each demon is so that we can fervently pray and cry for the mercy of the Lord, that each one of these demons in our heart can be killed by the Lord through the chanting of the holy name. And then the one from Krishna Lila Stava, this is a description of this pastime by Srila Sanatana Goswami.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna Chandra, sees everyone equally. He does not have to perform any action to accomplish anything he desires. He is full of nectar. He did not kill anyone. Srila Shukadeva Goswami says, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-15, Kamam krodham bhayam sneham aikyam sauradam evacha nityam haro vidadato yanti tanmayatam hite. If one somehow or other becomes attracted to Krishna through lust, anger, fear, affection or friendship, then one's salvation and freedom from material contamination is assured.
So this very important sloka spoken by Sukadeva Goswami explains that even lust, anger, fear or affection, if it's directed toward Krishna and one becomes attracted to him, then they become purified and they're guaranteed liberation. So even the demons who approach Krishna in krodha, in anger, in a desire to kill him, they also became purified. The gopis, that's the example of those who approach Krishna with desires for his love, and then those who are also fearful of him, they also become purified. So any way we can remember Krishna, even if it's out of fear or if it's out of affection, both ways we can get liberation, and not just ordinary liberation, but liberation meaning going back to Godhead.
On the day of Krishna's birth star, Nanda's wife Yashoda called together the Gopas and Gopis and had the Brahmanas perform auspicious ceremonies, taking her dark boy, who was dressed in red garments and his limbs decorated with golden ornaments and his lotus eyes with black anjana, wore a glittering moon necklace of lion's nails. She offered respectful obeisances to the demigods and gave great wealth to the Brahmanas. On that auspicious day she placed her son in his cradle and quickly greeted the gopis. As the cowherd people came and went in the auspicious rooms, the gopi Yashoda did not hear the sound of her crying son.
Now this is a similar description of this pastime coming from Garga Samhita.
Then when a demon named Utkacha, who had been sent by the demon Kamsa and who had a body made of air, went to a cart and tried to make it fall on Krishna's head. Infant Krishna kicked the cart with the red sole of his foot. When the cart broke into pieces, the demon fell. Leaving his body of air, he attained a pure spiritual body, and after respectfully bowing down before Lord Hari in a chariot pulled by 100 horses, went to the Lord's own abode of Goloka. Headed by Nanda, the men and gopis of Vraja at once converged on that place and asked the children, "How could this cart have fallen by itself? O children of Vraja, you were here, You know, the children said, staying in the cradle, crying for milk and kicking his feet. The child hit the cart with one foot and it fell. Astonished, the Gopas and Gopis did not believe the children's words. What is this 3-month-old infant in comparison to this heavily burdened cart? Fearing a ghost had come, Yashoda took the infant on her lap, gave offerings to the Brahmanas and had them perform a traditional yajna. O great sage, in his previous birth, who was this fortunate demon named Utkacha? Who was this fortunate demon named Utkacha who attained liberation by the touch of Lord Krishna's foot? Sri Narada said, O king of Mithila, one day the demon named Utkacha, who was Hiranyaksha's son, went to Lomasha Muni's hermitage and broke some trees. Seeing the powerful giant named Utkacha, the Brahmana became angry and cursed him, O evil-hearted one, become bodiless. From this deed, his body at once fell away as a snake's old skin also falls away. The king of demons then fell at the Brahmana's feet and spoke. Utkacha said, O sage, O ocean of mercy, please be kind to me. I did not know your power. O Lord, please give me a body. Sri Narada said, then the sage, who had studied 100 lessons in morality from the demigod Brahma, became pleased. The anger of saintly persons being a blessing, the anger of saintly persons brings a blessing. How great is that blessing which brings liberation? Sri Lomasha said, you may have a body made of air. When the Chakshush Manvantara is over and the Vaivasvat Manvantara has come, Lord Hari's foot will give you liberation. Sri Narada said, in this way the power of Lomasha Muni gave liberation to the demon Utkacha. I offer my respectful obeisances to the saintly devotees of the Lord, who have the power both to bless and to curse.
So this is a conversation between Bahulasva and Narada Muni. So just as Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring from Sukdev Goswami, Bahulasva, who's the king of Mithila, he was also a great devotee that Krishna went to visit. He wanted to hear more and more from Narada Muni, so Narada Muni gave these details about this particular pastime. Hare Krishna.